Good evening. Sorry we're 2 minutes late, 3 minutes late. But hey, good evening. Welcome to Airfix and Chill. It's Monday night. We have Jim in the panel. We've got Ben, we've got John Alec, we've got Luke, and we've got John Joffrey Parker. Zinzan will be on his way, I think. Hang on, he's texting me now. Yeah, he's having trouble with the Tinterweb, so he'll be along soon. Yeah, good all. If you have any questions or comments, please put QQQ or question, as we've been doing for the last couple of months, or comment or CCC if you want to talk, or put a comment up, and we'll read as many out as we can. Going forward, I want to talk about our main topic first. In fact, I know there's a lot going on with Airfix and their Jaguar, but I want to put that later on. Because one of the questions I had sent to me was that they enjoyed the topic about subject and manufacturer that we had last week or week before, and they said that they were more inclined to buy a kit by their scheme, and I thought that was really interesting. And we got talking backwards and forwards on the messenger. Pikey Stanley with his surname's, so I'm not being funny, his surname's Pike, but we know him as Pikey. He's a friend of mine. He's a scale modeler, and he even calls himself Pikey is his nickname. And why am I talking like this anyway? I was just worried that offending anyone. That's his nickname because his surname's called Pike. Anyway, by and by, and he was saying, he goes, he said that he's been buying certain kits that he liked, and sometimes they're going for £40 or £50.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, because I said that one of the schemes I like is the Flybe scheme, because I'm from this area, and Flybe was the major airline down this way. And if you go on now and look at the Revell BAE 146, because it's got that Flybe scheme in it, it can go between about £40 to £80. And if you want to go even deeper than that, look at the TNT logoed ones for price. And then, so I thought let's have a little chat about that tonight. And when you pick up a kit, how do you pick the scheme that's in the box? Like when you got Airfix or you got Revell, when there's 4 or 5, an Edard, they've got 4 or 5 schemes. How do you pick the one that you go for? So I'll start with Ben actually, because he was on last week, and just to hammer it with you, how do you go about picking a particular model with a scheme? Is it something that you look at, or is it just by the way it looks? Is that your sort of take? Because for me, the easiest scheme, or if it's a subject I'm not really interested in, I normally go for the easiest scheme, if you know what I mean, and build that.
Yeah, no. For me, it's a mix, because again, doing aircraft and doing ships, schemes do apply to both, but they make a hell of a big difference in one rather than the other.
Yeah.
For aircraft, schemes is a very big thing for me. I'll always want to build the subject generally, but a scheme will make me decide, one, probably how quickly I want to build it, and two, if it's an impulse purchase, do I also want to buy it there and then?
Yeah.
For aircraft, I'm quite a collector. I like to buy. I'll have certain subjects that I love, and I want to get specific schemes. For me, it's really Buccaneer, Harrier, and Tornado. Up to my left up here, I've got a whole variety of different schemes. And for Tornado especially, it's all the variant schemes. It's all the special edition schemes. For me, they're a really big draw. But for most of the others, unless they're a sort of a one-off scheme, special scheme for an anniversary, it doesn't really come into play. Now, for ships, it's quite different. Ships, you do get schemes on. They're not all just grey, and they're not all just submarines. Are not all just black. There are pink submarines as well. But again, ships, it's not really a driver for me. It's a subject. If it's involved, again, this goes sort of back to the debate we did the other week. For ships, it's the subject and the time that will drive a kit purchase for me rather than a scheme. Because very rarely do you ever see a ship in a special one-off scheme. So for aircraft, schemes are quite a driver for me. But for ships, still back to more to the subject driven.
Fair play. What about you, Luke? Are you a scheme man? Is there like certain schemes you want to do, or are you just basically desert camo? Because that's what I'm used to, and I still wear it. I still wear it before I go to bed at night. Everything's all brown and yellow for me.
So generally, it's subject rather than scheme. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But because a lot of the stuff I build or have built, the subject will be used by many nations. So, for example, Soviet armor.
Yeah.
There's probably during the time of the Cold War, certainly, and when it was the Soviet Union, there's probably 22 different nations that have used that vehicle or that piece of armor at some point. So then what I do, if I like the subject, like for example, my next build is the BM-21, which is the Soviet multi-launch rocket system, but it's on like a truck. It's on like a flatbed truck. But there's probably about 18 nations that have used that particular thing. So although in the box, the schemes are Russian, basically, but you could quite easily build that, do a bit of research, and for example, the Ugandan army have used it.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting camouflage scheme, and then you go into the realms of you looking at aftermarket decals.
Yeah.
Now, for sort of anything that's 35th scale, 48, 72nd, particularly more popular subjects, that's quite easily achievable.
Yeah.
You can find there's a lot of aftermarket decals out there. Or what I have done in the past, which takes a bit of practice, is I've made my own decals. But that's not as straightforward as I thought it would be. But it can be done. It can be done with something as simple as Microsoft Word, which most people have access to, or the Apple equivalent, and an inkjet printer and some good clear coat. And it can be done. So scheme wouldn't necessarily lead me to buy a kit. It's subject led, but then depending on the subject, I might look at something a bit more obscure that you don't see very often, if at all. For example, you could go out and buy a ZSU, which is a Soviet anti-aircraft platform, on a T-62 chassis, I think it is, or T-55 chassis. But that was used in Afghanistan by the Northern Alliance, and they have some real weird and wonderful camouflage schemes, and essentially no unit markings. So there's many options there depending on the subject, but the subject will always lead me to the purchase rather than the scheme, because you can make the scheme yourself.
Yeah. I get that. What about you, Jim? Being an American, I suppose you'll only ever build it. If it's got an American scheme, you'll build it. Is that right?
No.
Stars and bars, and that's about it.
Stars and bars. He don't even use the decals anymore. He's got the stencils. He's just got the stencils.
My mantra: if it looks cool, if it flips my switch, I'll do it. Now, that usually, like Luke says, is subject driven. But once I have the subject, then I'm looking for scheme. And if I can't find a scheme that I like on a particular subject, then that may influence it. It's kind of it has to be like both things. So an example, I'm not a big Buccaneer fan, kind of on the fence with it. Airfix comes out with it, but they did the Navy version. Okay, the gray and the two-tone gray. I'm like, But then they came out and they did the RAF version, and I'm like, okay. Now they're all pretty much have the wraparound scheme and the logos or whatever. But then talking with my good friend Al McNeish, shout out to Al, as he lives right by Lossiemouth, he said, they'd come in and he saw them lined up and they'd fold their wings, and I'm like, no kidding. because I preferred the folded wing version. I thought, well, only the Navy would do that, right? And he's all, no, the RAF would do that too. So I'm like, perfect. Now I can get a Buccaneer. I've got an excuse. I can do it the way I want, and I can do it in the markings I want. So sometimes it's a conglomeration of multiple things, but I'm also guilty of buying 3 or 4 of one subject because I want to do a bunch of different schemes on it, you know. So I'm weird like that.
See, the reason I say this is because this came in my mystery box this week. Now I've got this is the third one I've got now. I built the original MiG-17 when it was first tooled, but this here with this American,
that's wacky.
It's Area 51. If you were going to go into a shop, a lot of people won't build. By the way, even though this is a MiG-17F, the actual scheme is actually one that was used on a LIM 5, which is the Polish licensed version of this.
Yeah.
I don't think the Russians would have actually given an original MiG-17 to the Americans to play around with. I think they brokered a deal with Poland to get one of these. But that to me was, if I saw that, I think, I'm not interested in Russian schemes, but that one's, like a what if you know what I mean. That there will be that would pull me in to build one, if you know what I mean.
Well, I've got 2 of those, for example, but I don't like that American scheme at all, personally. I just think it looks wrong. Whereas when they did the LIM 5, so the Polish license built one, it came with a Polish scheme and it came with an East German DDR scheme. And those 2 were like, I love the schemes both so much. So the aircraft type, I'm a bit, it's a MiG-17, not the most exciting, but the 2 schemes were sold it, and I bought 2 of them purely on the scheme. So it's probably one of the few times I did just buy it on schemes only and not the actual aircraft subject.
Yeah. I will say, because this one here, when I built it, it's a lovely model. It falls together. I was very impressed with it, and I think the MiG-17 with that nose, it looks Cold War. That's why I liked it. It looks proper Cold War. You just come out the war, you're going for it. Let's try and build anything. It'll go faster than the next plane, if you know what I mean. But I thought the stars and bars, it would. And I remember Dale saying on one of the old Airfixes and chills that when the designers come up and say, what should we do? He goes, give me a plane with teeth, because they sell really well. Is it shark's teeth, isn't it? They put on them.
I'm still waiting for the Curtis Hawk to come back into the range for that.
Yeah.
Because that, as much as that was not really a starter kit, I can remember I must have been about 11 at the time. No, hang on. How old would I have been? It'd been year 9, so about 13, 14. Going to the Imperial War Museum and seeing that in the shop. And like you say, it was the shark teeth that done it for me. It was like, that's the kit. Built that, loved it.
This is one. They always put that out for Aldi or Lidl. These boxes, you'll never see them it's not an Airfix boxing officially. It's an IKEA boxing. Lidl and Aldi boxing, but it comes with teeth, and that's what you want, isn't it? Something with teeth. What about you, Joffrey? Are you somebody who picks a kit by the scheme?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, recently I bought the 48 scale Nat from Airfix, and I really wanted to build Ray Hanna's Nat, because he was one of the most influential Red Arrows pilot ever. I had to go back to a set of decals from the 50th anniversary set and use those, but the kit that you get on sale now doesn't come with Hanna's schemes. But normally I'll just buy a kit and build it, usually straight out of the box. That's really what my channel's about. It's about building straight out of the box. This is what you get. What you can expect, And a lot of the schemes that a lot of companies choose are actually quite good.
Well, if you look at the Sea Kings, for instance, when Airfix released that 148, there's a story to tell in amongst the schemes. We got even the second release. You got King of the Junglies, and it goes through. You got the Granbury. It goes through. The life story of that particular, and I like that. I think that's a good choice from
I
Airfix.
think that's a very strong marketing technique by Airfix on that. And I actually wish they do that for a lot more of their releases.
Yeah.
Because it gives me a bit of an incentive to actually buy more of the same.
Yeah.
Again, between the sort of certainly go back to Sea King, the first iteration compared to the last one where it's in Heliops, there's enough change within the kit that you're not just building the same. But I think generating that story of a scheme, is very, very good.
Plus, the HC4 Sea King looks remarkably different to the standard one with the sponsons.
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't it originally released as the Commando, the Westland Commando, and then they just call it the HC4, didn't they?
They did. The sponsons were definitely different.
Yeah.
And they had aerial communications in different places, didn't they, on the HC4? Yeah. That's why you had new parts. And also the insides were different as well. You had a longer bay and you had more seats in the HC4 variant of that.
Also, it had the air intake covers, didn't it? Or the protectors, I think, the difference as well.
Didn't the HAS3 have the protectors as well? The Sea Rescue variant?
I think it did, but I want to say Gulf Wars when they put them on.
It was like a shield over the front of the air intake. Interesting what you were saying earlier, Jim. I don't know if you know, but the RAF purchased Royal Naval stocks of Buccaneers. So they would have had folding wings anyway.
Yeah.
Well, sure, but that didn't mean they had to use that option. Once Al told me that they regularly did use folding wings on the flight line, I thought,
makes them easier to store, doesn't it, in the hangars and stuff?
Yeah.
Just going to quickly go to the chat a minute because a lot of people are saying basically what we're saying. North Devon Model Society. I'm Barry. I will be in contact with you because I'd like to get you on here. So we will be in contact. I use a lot of the aftermarket decals for my 1969 Battle of Britain movie project. If I like the subject a lot, I pick the cooler scheme, but I might build it multiple times in multiple schemes. If the scheme is mega cool, the subject can be less important, which is interesting because I think the reason why I bought that F-16 from Revell, is it the F-16 I bought? It had this massive eagle on the back. What was it? Was it the F-16 they did?
Yeah.
It had a massive eagle.
Was that one of the display aircraft?
Yeah. And you were like to yourself, you're like, that's going to be some motherfucking bitch you get that decal down, but I want it because it looked amazing. And I bought that. I never built it, but I did buy it. No, I never got around to it.
No, frightened you, didn't it, Moss?
I think it's probably that's it. But like everything, you see something, and you go, oh, I really like that. If it's a cool scheme, what's that, Ben?
Well, it's a bit. That's for the. So I've got the Airfix starter set, the Typhoon, and that's the scheme I'm going to put on it. So I really don't have an interest in the Typhoon, but I just like again that scheme because it is so wacky. Even though the decals are going to be horrendous to put down.
Yeah.
But that's what sold me the kit is the fact there was also an option to do the different decals.
Do you want me to burst your bubble, Ben?
Yeah.
Go on.
Those decals don't fit.
Don't they?
Sorry.
No, they're about 4 mil short on the wings.
Now I'm just thinking that didn't that come out before I think Airfix's tooling came out, so it might even be for the older Airfix one, or probably the Italieri molding.
Yeah, so that one or the decal set came out before the starter set, so they don't fit. And the Revell boxing of both the 48th and 72nd Blackjack, the decals have the same issue in both of those kits. They're too small.
Oh, what a shitter! I suppose you could say
knock yourself out.
Knock yourself out.
What I would do, Ben, is actually get them very central on the wing and then just sand the wing down to the edge of the decal. That's what I would do.
Just mask and paint it, Ben.
I was going to say I was going to mask and paint it then.
Yeah,
mask and paint it.
My choice of scheme can be a particular pilot or World War bomber. A vehicle from a famous battle conflict, which is an attractive camo scheme. Yeah. Saying that, I'm a sod for template. I like stencils and templates to spray through. And I'm desperate trying to get like a Mickey Mouse style camo version because I was actually, where's it to? Have I got it here? I put it on. Where did I put it to? There's so many kits. I've had 17 kits arrive this week. There it is. I like these this week, which I bought. I love this sort of
American motley.
Yeah, that there. But I'd love a stencil to just to spray through. I can't be asked with all this painting in the circles. Does anybody do one? No one does one.
No,
I mean that's my collection of aftermarket decals for aircraft. Bearing in mind, primarily, I am a ship modeler.
Yeah.
That's a good couple of inches on that, and there's literally mostly Tornado, but there's modern Harrier stuff. There's, I want to say, what's probably the most random decal I've got in here. I think it's a Hawk actually for the Airfix Hawk kit. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's literally because it is a Royal Navy squadron, the Hawks. It's the only reason why. I've got really no interest in the Hawk as an aircraft, but the fact it's got Royal Navy on the back was just like, yep, I'm going to do that.
That is cool details I'm never going to use.
Honestly, like Joe, when I looked at that box then, Jim, that is how I store all my catalogue. I thought they were just catalogues. That's just schemes, is it? Honestly,
this is all decals I'll never get to.
I bet. You know, right? Scheme. If you, scheme. You know, but it just shows you how. Just seeing that just shows you how important the aftermarket scheme is, how big it is, really. There's everything that you ever want there. Graham Bell, the only time I chase schemes has been building Formula One cars. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I get that. What's that, Jim?
Bought the decal sheet, and I'm probably never even going to get the plane.
Yeah, P47.
At least decal sheet's cheaper than the kit.
But Jim, do you know what that shows me though? That your big box is that when I go to a therapist, I can say my addiction is not as bad as my friend across the pond.
Yeah. Question: some customized schemes are available commercially. Would you just buy one of those or make your own? Oh, good question. Good question.
I would always, if there is a scheme available from a manufacturer of decals, I would always go with them, because making your own decals in the nicest possible way without swearing is beyond a headache. It can be done. I've done it. I've used them. And the last kit I did it on was the Hella 24 scale Citroen van. I can't remember the name of the van, but it's like the panel van, the 1950s.
Well, like the 2CV sort of.
They do a van, don't they? It's like a sports van.
While it's on look at that,
the picture makes 1,000 words.
So
it's that one.
Oh, the little baguettes.
But I made the decals, obviously. But it's not that straightforward.
Did you get a copyright infringement on that?
I was going to say,
it's not as easy as you think. I mean, the kit itself, I'd build another one of those. They're lovely.
Yeah.
But to custom print and manufacture your own decals, it can be done, but it is, or for me, certainly it was problematic.
I've got a friend who sent me a link last week because I was talking to him about making my own decals, and he sent me a link to Temu, and he said the best decal paper I've ever bought is off this company, and he put a smiley face. And then when I clicked the link, it was for Temu. I'll send you a link along. He reckons these are this, and it's not. They're not expensive either. He said
decal paper as a rule isn't cheap.
No. and he said that the best paper, he got it from Timu, he says, but it's been the best. He said, because they reckon you don't have to spray on top of it. It would just bleed in to the decal paper. But he said he always gives it a couple of coats of...
the best clear I found, believe it or not, was, I think it's in the UK, certainly, it's made by a company called Plasticoat. And it comes in a rattle can.
Yeah.
Quite a big rattle can. I think it's like 500 mil or something.
Yeah.
And it's Plasticoat spelt with an I and coat is spelt COTE. And they do a clear gloss. A couple of coats of that, 24 hours in between, and it actually works really, really well. It seals. And people reckon you can do it with a laser printer as well, but then most of the people I spoke to at the time said inkjet is far better.
Well, the difference between laser and inkjet is exactly what it says on the tin. Laser is powder, while inkjet is liquid. So as everyone knows, I think this is how my right in knowing. Basically, the laser puts through a magnetic thing through the paper, and it draws the
it like draws
the powder to the paper, with electric, like magnetism or something, and then the heat then melts the powder onto the paper. That's my interpretation of a laser jet. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, please, or let me know in the chat. But I think that's how it works.
That's right.
And that's why you notice now that inkjet printers are allowed on people's computer desk, but laserjet printers are put in their own separate room because of the it's a health and safety thing, isn't it? Because it's powder.
I've had both Moss and the laserjet printers that definitely operate warmer.
It's definitely heat.
So I agree with that.
Yeah, my friend does flash paper. He's a magician. He gets flash paper, and he prints off, with an inkjet. And he said, "Don't put it through your laserjet because you have to ring the fire brigade." As I found out, he said, "There's that flash paper went boom like that." It ruined his missus's company's color ink. It was expensive. He said it was expensive.
There is.
That's a tax write-off. It'd be fine.
Yeah.
Can I just point something out, Moss? If you've got an older kit, decals are crap, and you have a newer release, even if it's a newer tool, and it's got 2 schemes in it, you can always use the other schemes.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm doing that with an old tool, Airfix Stuka, at the moment, because their new release Stuka that Airfix produced has got 2 completely different sets of decals with it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use the other scheme on the old tool.
What you can also do, and I do this as a matter of course anyway, in case I make a mistake. So when you get decals in a kit that you are going to be using, if you're using that particular scheme, before you start cutting into those decals and trying to use them, scan them.
Yeah.
Should you make a mistake, you can then print those on your inkjet printer on decal paper, and you've got as many spares as you're ever going to need.
Yeah.
Russ Bauer, CCC, the blue camel schemes on the Russian MiG flankers are stunning, but I've yet to get one. Mate, I'm for that because, as I said, my next build, which I'm about to start, I'm just waiting for Edard to get back with me with the what have I done with that kit? It's here somewhere. So there you go. My next kit is the flanker. Not the flanker, the Fencer D is my next kit, and they do a beautiful blue. It doesn't come with the kit, mind. You have to get it, but there's a beautiful blue scheme for it, which I want to do, and the Felon as well. But they do that like the digitalized one. You'd have to use a masking set for that. You can't just do it willy nilly. But yeah, my friend Kim, who does flankers day in day out, and if you've gone to a model show and come to our Scale Model Club bench, you will see 2 of his flankers there with that blue camo scheme. It's stunning. There's no two ways about it. It's really, really well done. But that's for another day. John, are you a scheme kind of guy? Do you like buy a kit for a scheme, or you just build and decide what comes out of the box?
The latter. So I very rarely buy a kit because of the scheme that I see. Yeah. It's almost always the subject matter, right? Mm-hmm. And then when I pick a scheme, it's a combination of what looks good to my eye, right? What's going to be pleasing, and what can I do, right? So some paint schemes, you know, they can be quite intricate and stuff like that, right? Or there'll be a scheme that's got that, you know, dot camo, that kind of thing, and I'm like, okay, you know, do I want to try that, you know, on this or what have you? And sometimes I will do aftermarket decals, especially for planes. So I did that with the F-15. I turned it into an F-15J. I'm doing that with the Ju-52 from World War II. I'm turning it into. I got the. I got these for it was $10 delivered, and I got stencils that will look exactly like the lettering that's on the Ju-52 from Where Eagles Dare, right?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good shout.
Yeah. So I got the. So if you look at the Ju-52 from Where Eagles Dare, the lettering is actually very small. It's quite small. And so I took a picture and I measured the ratio of the letters to the height, and then I got the kit and I measured it and that kind of stuff. And so there were not any for the 148th, but there were for 172nd. And so I bought them, and I've already looked. It's going to look fantastic. It's still going to look in scale. It's going to be awesome. So. But most kits now come with you know, at least 2 or 3 different scheme options. You know, chances are one of those is going to be acceptable, right, or interesting. And if it's not, you know, you can look. Aftermarket decals they're pretty expensive, right? So it's got to be something that you really want to do.
Yeah, and also with aftermarket decals, they are expensive, but bloody hell, they really fill out that bit of paper, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, when I bought the E Lightning ones from Micro Scale, there were about 14 different. They never gave you the stencil, but they really did fill up that bit of paper. So if you bought that one there and you invested yourself, you could probably use all of them on something, or minimum at least 5. So because I know that, I think that's one of the things I was going to suggest for Airfix, and not Airfix Chill, but for my channel, was to have a bit. Look at that! Wow, was to do like a bit of a swap, like, you know, look at all those Shadowhawks. That's what I mean. There's a lot on there, so they are worth the investment. And also, just like saying, "Oh, I've bought this one. Does anybody want to buy the rest off me?" Like, you know, that would be a good little way of, you know, to keep the money down. So, Graham, my schemes are for aircraft that flew from Yorkshire airfields during the wars and post-war, sort of Yorkshire Air Force. Yeah. Sponsored by Yorkshire Tea. Yeah, I get that, you know.
But in that case, would you say that's subject driven then, or scheme driven? Because his subject is everything around Yorkshire. Yeah.
That would be a subjective driven. Yeah, but your subject would not be the plane. It would be, you know, Yorkshire. Yeah. Well, like me, when I was saying about, you know, I like to build planes that can have Flybe insignia on it, you know. Yeah, you can buy the decal scheme, but as I said, I just couldn't believe the pricing of some of these kits that Revell have launched, you know, because Flybe doesn't exist anymore. I noticed that if you want to buy schemes or planes that have Pan Am on the work, they go for some big money as well, the Pan Am stuff. So Ian Chambers, Ian Chambers, I'd love to see other than bomber command schemes on Lancasters. Canadian or French would be great. Also, on the point of ships, Airfix really need to upgrade their Second World War painting guides, as with the exception of HMS Belfast, all the others are only grey, but when you look at the photos, they are literally camouflage. Honestly, email Airfix at hornby.co.uk and you'll probably get an answer.
But don't Airfix do vintage classics with the original instructions?
Yeah, they'll be with the original colour schemes.
So they won't. They're not likely to do that, are they?
No, unless they're going to bring out some new ships.
Yeah, true.
Fingers crossed.
But I mean, if I'm building a camo patterned warship from World War II, you just go off photos anyway.
Well, I'm just waiting for them to do the Prince of Wales or Queen Elizabeth carriers in Second World War dazzle camouflage. That'll do me fine.
Oh, guess who's entered the room? Did I miss you the first time round? Sorry about that. I was busy with comments.
He's been back room for like a half hour.
No, he hasn't. It did pop up.
Yeah, it was cold and dark in there.
Oh,
you let me out.
Yeah.
He's in the storage cupboard under the stairs, aren't you?
Quite right. So this is where I deserve to be.
Graham, why is my post being blocked? I don't know, mate. Are you putting in a link? Because if you've got a link, you should. I don't know. But I'm seeing your post absolutely fine. Is everyone else seeing Graham McRoberts' post? Yeah, everyone else is seeing them, so I don't think they are being blocked.
I mean, by the very nature that you've managed
It's
to put
just
it
appeared,
on the screen, would indicate that it's not.
I get that. Right. Just looking through some of the chat there. Right, I'll go then. Zenny, what's your take? Are you a scheme? Are you more scheme or subject?
Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean, I use the given scheme sometimes, but as you'll know, I mean, there have been a couple of projects that I've put on the channel. The Fokker Wolf that I got from Nigel.
Yeah.
I did in 1944. Was it 1944? British camo and the underlying yellow, and then used the cry cut to actually give myself the roundels and so on.
Yeah.
But what you can also do with cry cut is you can use the lettering to create any other bits and pieces you want. It's a bit of a faff to do the lettering because most of the stuff is all very ornate and decorative, and I don't know any aircraft that have terribly ornate, curlicues in their lettering and such like. But it's worthwhile doing that, and cry cut can be your friend in this regard, very much so. The other thing that I have done in the past is actually to slightly doctor scheme decals. And I mean, to give you an example, you can turn an 8 into a 3 very easily with a sharp knife.
Yes.
So you can do different ident numbers if you wish to. And at 1/48 scale particularly, no one's ever going to know the difference.
No,
yeah.
And
that's it with the number 8, isn't it? You got 8, 6, 9, 3.
Yeah. And you can mix and match the letters around if you want to, just by cutting them up and so on.
Yeah.
There's a moderate amount of bad language involved, I will say, because it's really fiddly. It's a really fiddly thing, particularly at 1/48. I wouldn't even think about doing it at 172. I'm going to leave that to someone like Ben, who would be sufficiently patient to do it, I say.
Yeah, I get that. Ben, you've got a question on the screen, actually, mate. Question for Ben. I'm looking forward. Draw
marks, yeah.
Drop marks, right, for the ships I build. Do you know a good place from where I can get some from, please? 1-200, 1-350, UK, US, IJN.
Normally they will come with the schemes, or they should come with the boxings or schemes that you're buying.
Yeah.
If not, I think Sovereign Hobbies, I want to say, does. I know they do a 1/200 set, but I don't know if it's probably UK or US style. I would think otherwise you're going to be looking on eBay or possibly the UK. UK, I would say Atlantic Models, maybe.
Yeah.
Because he does a few decal sheets. But that's all I can really recommend. It's probably going to be an eBay or even maybe a Temu or something like that, because they are on their own. They're not very common.
Fair enough. I'll have to buy every decal scheme that comes out. You never know what you might need it. Yeah, I think you with Jim on that one.
I got some for you if you need something.
Yeah. 6 into 9. Yeah, definitely. Bad language is a qualification needed for scale model making, especially on vintage classics, which is where I'm going to lead us next. I think. I think we better get it out there now. Anyway, folks, have you received your Airfix Jaguar in the post this week? The 1/72 scale vintage classic. There's been a lot of talk on Brit Modeler, Facebook, in the forums. I've had a few people contact me today about it. So Airfix have released the Superchats Jaguar GR1. The box art's fantastic. You know, that's proper Roy Cross, isn't it? That box art.
Yeah.
You know, look, I just love the way they've not sanitized it. You know, when there was that time when they would sanitize all of Roy Cross's box art, but look, you know, you've got it blowing up the buildings just behind. Like, you know, look at that. That is, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's like a little fuck you, isn't it? Like, look at what we. This is the UK. We don't care. You know, there's probably about 8 or 9 kids.
You know, you're talking about some poor West German farmer that's had his house blown up in training.
Yeah. I don't even think the Jaguar did drop a bomb. Is there any? Did Jaguars?
Oh yeah, of course they did.
Yeah, I'm taking the mic.
They were used extensively in the Gulf War,
but not in the German one though, was it?
No, not in Germany. No.
I know, that's what I mean. Oh, no, of course they used them. Yeah, I'm just taking the mic here, lads. I'm just taking the mic. But, you know, great box art. There's a little bit of a problem that's been found out recently. That they've released it with lovely. Actually, the model looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But if I showed you the nose, have I gone small again? Let's go bigger, shall we? Let's go bigger. If I showed you the nose of that,
yeah.
Come on, focus. Does that look like a GR1 to you?
It's not a prototype one.
It's an A variant.
They did a prototype version before that mold was revamped.
Yeah.
And the nose was pointed with a pitot tube coming out the front of it.
So unfortunately, it looks like that in the time that the French had the ownership of Airfix, Hella released an A variant, and I think it was 1996.
They've done the moulding, haven't they?
Yeah. So fortunately, what's in the box is not necessarily what you're going to get. Yeah, it's a French Jaguar. It's the A variant. Unfortunately, it looks like that this has kind of slipped through. I did reach out to Dale for comment and about this because I felt it was only right because we knew we were going to have to talk about it tonight because it's massive. I'm a bit of a loyalist when it comes to Airfix. But I knew that it will come out, and he said that I've reached out to him, and he's basically said they've been very busy today, trying to find a resolution for those that have already purchased the kit. The kit's been pulled, so you won't be able to buy one on the Airfix website, and they are looking at what options that they will have in the future, but. Keep an ear out for tomorrow. There'll be more news tomorrow on this.
I mean,
does anybody really care? Does anybody really care?
There is an easy fix, Moss. because that kit is really easily available on the sites.
Yeah.
Just buy an old kit and exchange the fuselage arms over.
Well, my argument is that the decals look absolutely lovely in here.
Yeah, the decals will be a lot better in the in the new release kit. Yeah, they will be.
Help 92. Somebody's going to make a killing off 3D printed noses. But if you've got the GR from pre-1990s,
there you go. Look at that.
That's a cracking scheme. A cracking decal.
Yeah.
I mean, like I was saying before, for me personally, I'm quite happy with it because it means I can build the really obscure single prototype French naval version.
Yeah.
Off it and just extend the nose gear. So if Airfix don't want to put it just yet, so I can purchase one. I will be most happy.
See, if you look at the decal sheet, the decal sheet's absolutely stunning. Very, very clear. You can read all those danger air intake. This one's 72nd scale, by the way. So you've got all these here. Very, very nice decal scheme. I suggested, or I would suggest that they would what am I doing? I've got that on. It's great. It's a little magnifier that goes on my camera. That they could probably, if they wanted to, if they're not going to sell the actual kit, they could probably make a masking set and shove the decals in it and sell it for $12.99. There's a way around. But yeah, so there's a lot of talk about it online. People, I don't see the rage in it, but again, I never really saw the rage apart from the moment when we had the problem with the Vulcan and the Blackbuck.
That was such an easy fix. It wasn't really a problem, was it?
Right.
No, but this
and I think with this one, this is just a tooling. This is a tooling error. Someone has literally got the wrong tooling to mold or not picked that up. That's an internal issue you couldn't really foresee except internally.
Yeah.
The Vulcan, there was some information about that was public, which could have been avoided. But I think on, this one, you're buying a vintage classic supposedly from 1974, but now you're getting a 1995 tooling or 1996.
Yeah, you are.
Not terrible now, is it?
I don't think it looks that bad to it. I think it's quite a nice little tooling for what it is.
I mean, is there, when you look at the other parts in the Vox, does it have it stamped on there, the tooling? Because the old ones used to sometimes have the injection where you'd have the tooling date on it on one of the over trees.
Well, the thing is, the original tool was 1970, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then it was revamped into the GR1 in 72 or 73.
Yeah, they redid the nose because that's definitely the Hella tooling. Because I've looked at a GR3 boxing from 2004 and the sprues online.
Yeah,
and there's definitely on the front it's squared off. Because I'm just wondering, for example, let's say that possibly the wings and the fuzz and the weapons can all be the GR1 tooling, but it's only the fuzz that's somehow become the A when they've moved the toolings about.
So the difference in the A though and the GR1 is the tail and the actual front, isn't it? So the tail.
Didn't the A not have a laser rangefinder?
Yeah, it didn't. It was smooth from the.
Was it? I thought it wasn't.
It's the pointed nose, whereas the GR1 has sort of, like you say, it's rather the rangefinder or whatever, the little glass box in the front.
Yeah,
in the nose.
I'm just looking. I can't see. I think the tooling looks pretty good. I know it's all raised panel lines, but it's just raised panel lines, isn't it?
It's a nice kit originally.
Yeah.
I've got the prototype kit in my stash. It's a really nice kit.
But as I said, is there really much of a rage on this one? Because it's not a new tool, it's a vintage classic.
Yeah.
There are people that have probably bought it and they realise now that what they've got isn't exactly what was on, in the T. I'd see. So I'm just looking at it now. I think with all the weaponry on it, I think this must have been a different sprue then. Well, maybe.
What's the weaponry on it?
That's the weaponry on it. And I'll make it so bigger so you can have a look.
Have they got 4 big missiles?
They got.
No, that's
the drop tank, isn't it?
That's the GR1 sprue.
Oh, sorry, the GR1 sprue. Sorry, I thought I was just looking at the drop tank. Sorry. There you go. That's the one I want. So I get it now. That's the.
That looks like the GR1 sprue as well.
Yeah.
That isn't GR1 sprue, is it?
Yeah.
That is GR1 sprue.
Yeah, they're both GR1 sprues.
Are they?
Yeah. The original prototype had 4 big, massive, almost like bullpup missiles, which the Jaguar never carried.
Right. Understand now. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
They changed.
So hang on, let's have a look.
On the air intake's different on the A to the GR1.
Yeah, they are. Because look, if you look at the A, that's got the A intake. So I think it's got the double slots on the side, or are they open?
No,
whereas I think they were.
GR1 had double slots as well.
No, but I don't think they were open on the moulding. I thought they were closed.
They are closed.
Oh, they are. Maybe it's just the angle.
Hang on, let's have a look. Let's get closer so you can have a good look. No, they are. No, they're open.
Yeah, they're open. I'm sure that's what GR1 was like.
Really?
The prototype inlets are like that. The only thing they changed between the prototype and the GR1 was the weapon outload and the nose.
Yeah. The glass would be the same, wouldn't it?
Everything else was identical. Right.
So it's just that nose then that needs to be looked at. The tail's, I don't know. I think the tail's different. I think that tail's different.
Yeah, it is.
Let's ask ChatGPT.
That tail is not a GR1 Jag tail.
It's
the
not.
The RWR receiver's nowhere near big enough. It's a blade aerial on the front and back.
Is it?
Yeah. That's just a couple of stilts sticking out, isn't it?
Right, okay. But I just wondered.
That was the other thing they changed between the prototype and the GR1, because the GR1 had a plain fin.
Can you see that there?
Yeah.
Let me just get it close again.
You've got a slot there, yeah.
I wonder if they could put another insert in there. See that there?
Yeah.
I just wonder whether that's because it's the tooling. They could change the top of that to a different look.
They could probably re-mill the tooling, because it needs a wedge cutting out for the RWR receiver.
Right, I see. Okay.
That would be an easier fix.
Would it?
Yeah. So it's the antenna arrays on the tail, and then the nose sensor is a different.
See, when Airfix revamped the GR1 Harrier to the GR3 Harrier, that's exactly what they did. They just
if you look at the tail. If you look at the tail in the picture.
Yeah, that's the RWR receiver on the back.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that doesn't come with that on here, does it?
And also,
I just wonder whether
they'll have a couple of blades on the fin sticking out, one either side. That's what those slots are for, aren't they? A bit like the old Alpha Jet.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that I just wonder whether that'll be one of those things where they would maybe, because there's definitely a line. If I get the magnifier on again, there's definitely a line there. And if I turn it over, you see a line there. Whether that's a separate insert that they put on to change.
That might have been how Hella revamped the mold.
Yeah.
So hang on.
You mean, that could be a different insert, couldn't it?
Hold up so what were the weapons? So the two other weapon stores are definitely from the Jaguar. They are from the GR1. I think the fuselages are Hella. So I think the
fuselages are Hella.
Yeah, so I think what's happened is the wings are the original, but when they've gone to mold the fuselage, they've either picked up the wrong tooling, or that's what was left together when you had the Hella Hornby breakup.
That's
Hella
what I mean. Yeah. Is there an insert that's missing? Just ask him. And that was brought up. Somebody mentioned that to me, saying just check to see if it's insert. So
I'll tell you what, I'll check Scalemates and see when they stopped releasing the GR1 from Airfix.
They didn't know, mate. That's what we're trying to get at. If you look at Scalemates, it changed in 1996. So you got that timeline through Airfix, right?
Yeah.
In 1996, it dropped, and then they brought out that A variant. Hella brought out the A variant using that tooling, but they still continued to release the GR1 as a tool and a GR3.
So Do you reckon? Yeah, because they released an international kit as well, didn't they, with the missiles
Yeah.
on top of the wings?
So if
Do
we
you reckon there's an old GR1 screw somewhere?
hang on, sorry, yeah, well there might be. Yeah, go on, Luke. What are you saying?
Well, while Jeffy checks scale mates, can I interject here? How much is or how much was that kit in
16
British
quid.
pounds?
16
How much?
quid. 16 pounds.
And the problems. So I know nothing about this. Okay.
Yeah.
So the problems are the nose and the tail. Would that be a fair estimation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So rather than everyone bashing the shit out of Airfix for what's probably an issue that occurred back in the mid-90s when Heller adjusted the tool for the fuselage to make it into a French Jaguar.
Yeah.
Do we not think that as modelers we're renowned for our patience, if you like? Would it not be good to wait and see what Airfix come back with within the next week or so as a fix? Because I don't think that if it's a case that Heller have adjusted the tool to release a French version of the Jaguar back in the mid-90s, Airfix may not, as a company based in the UK, that they may not be aware of what Heller have done to that tool, and therefore it comes down to a quality control issue in India. Now Airfix are aware, they've done exactly the right thing. They've pulled the kit from retail. They will come up with a fix. They will come up with a solution, I'm pretty sure, within the next week or so.
Yeah.
And then if people are that bothered, having spent £16, which to be honest is 2 coffees in Starbucks.
Yeah.
If they're that bothered that it's not the right, well, Airfix are going to come up with a fix, and they've already said it will be a fix for everyone that has purchased that kit to date. So really, unless you're going to build a 72nd scale Jaguar within the next week, surely you can invoke some patience as a modeler and wait for the fix to be released by Airfix, or at least some sort of official statement in what they plan to do. Problem solved. You know, I think people are very quick to bash manufacturers, whether it be Airfix or another manufacturer. And I'm just as guilty of it as others. But we're very quick to bash manufacturers. But my car, for example, it's less than 3 years old, has been recalled twice. So, you know, and that's a lot more than £16. So it's sometimes, you know, these things happen. We just have to invoke a little bit of self-control and patience rather than jump on the internet on certain forums, bash everybody. Well, they need to fix it. They need to fix it now. Why? Why do they need to fix it now? It takes over 3 years to produce a tool. So why do they need to fix it today? Just give them a bit of time and see what their official stance is. And if it's not an official stance that is appropriate, then you can whinge. But until that time, just shut up for a week.
Just quickly, Moz, where you've got the tooling, the one with the tail fins, can you just hold that up again?
Yeah. Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
When I get this,
I think that's a separate sprue.
No, it is, but I just want him to hold up because if there's one particular part we got to fix.
You mean that?
Right, yeah, that. Hang on. So where your top finger is there a small pitot tube? Bingo. That there. So hang on, you might have to put the magnifying glass on. But that bit just above your finger is the is the nose.
Yeah.
Of the GR1 and 3, I think.
Yeah, so you just chop the nose out and insert that part.
You paramjit it and you cut it off.
Yeah.
And that's the kitty there.
That's the GR1 nose. That's
the GR1
there you
nose.
Go. Fix.
So all you need to do.
That's your fix.
Paramjit it, cut it off, bing bang bosh, Problem solved.
Yeah.
Fixed.
And when you cut the front of the nose off, the slot, because of the gap in the fuselage halves, will give you the slot for that part. The problem
the only thing
is the tail fin.
It's the tail fin, but that's a piece of plastic strap.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
But I reckon.
So essentially, where that pitot tube is on that sprue, you're absolutely right, Ben. You just cut the back off it, weld it to the nose that's on that fuselage that you have.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Creates a pointed nose to the pitot tube, little bit of filler and sand.
No, there's a bit of you got a bulge there.
Yeah, but you've cut that out.
You cut that out. You sand the bulge and you cut it.
If you wanted to build that kit now, you'd have to modify that nose, but it's just basically cutting it down.
Yeah.
Fill in the gap underneath.
Fix that.
And there's your pitot tube on the front with the laser rangefinder on the back of the pitot tube. So that's an easy fix. The problem is the tail fin, and I reckon Hella could have a tooling for that sprue with the fuselage.
I was going to say, I would find it quite funny if the French have the English one and we've got the French one.
Yeah, that's what
Welcome to the new global world.
Yeah. Cool. We found peace we found peace.
It's a true Anglo-French Jaguar.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm just waiting for the 101st Airborne to land on Downing Street, and then I'll be a happy man.
But there you go. So essentially, it's the tail will need a little bit more work of a bit of plastic strap. But if you're desperate and gagging at the bit to get yourself a British Jaguar, you can cut the nose off. And there you go.
And it wouldn't be. Now we know that Airfix have the ability to commission and produce 3D printed parts. So if they needed to make 2 3D printed halves for that tail, where the line is on the current sprue, that's pence. That's not a big deal, and it's not a big deal for a professional 3D designer to be able to design that in fairly quick time.
Yeah,
and Airfix have the LiDAR technology because obviously they scan big aircraft. There you go. Put the fuselage together, LiDAR your tail, 3D print it as a file, bing bang bosh, done.
Job done.
There we go. Right, what's our consultancy fee, Luke? I think we've worked it out there. So
it's not an insurmountable. And like you say, Ben, if you were that inclined and you didn't want to wait for something like that, and if Airfix don't do it, pounds for a pinch of shit, there are 3D aftermarket people that would do it.
Oh god, yeah,
definitely.
It's just that
Airfix don't do that. You're absolutely right. With a little bit of finesse and a little bit of skill, you could construct that tail section. Out
it's just Lucas, just a bit of filler for the two fillet gaps in the wing, and a little bit of plastic card either side of the fin. That's it.
Yeah.
But isn't it all too easy? Don't we hear, or I hear all the time, I'm a big advocate of 3D printing. I genuinely 100%. Jim's just had an aneurysm. But I'm a big believer in that 3D printing is the future of this hobby, without a shadow of a doubt. I truly believe that.
I think it'll be a while before that happens, but I think
absolutely it's coming.
You reckon just cut that nose off?
Yeah, flatten it off.
If you cut that nose down, can you see? Yeah, because you can see. Because when you cut the hole at the end of the nose, you'll have a slot.
There is no slot. There is no slot. The slot's been removed.
And then you'll just...
You're very blurred, Moz.
I know, I'm just looking at it. Hang on. I've got the
I thought it was my glasses then.
That's the nose, right?
But you cut it down, Moz.
Yeah.
But there's no notch inside, though, I'm afraid. That notch is
but you cut that down.
Yeah, you would paramjet it. You'd have to cut it back like Paramjet does on their 48.
Yeah.
You just cut that down, and then the empty section of the nose cone behind that hole will give you your slot.
Yeah.
But all I'm trying to get at is that people were moaning at the fact they had to remove a tiny piece of door on that Vulcan. You know, the amount of pounds, that they were going, to remove that slit and then I
think you're talking about two separate issues, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because separate issues.
what happened with the Vulcan was clearly a design error.
Yeah, it was a research issue.
It was a research and design error for which, as a company, Airfix are culpable.
Yeah.
Because it's a research and a design issue, and I'm not going to swear, but it was a duck up, right? That's what it was. But
that's going to be the
what's happened with the Jaguar is someone in India has said to someone in Margate, we have the tooling for the Jaguar GR1 that you could release as a vintage classic.
Yeah.
Airfix and Margate have said, what a great idea. The 48 scale Jaguar sold like hotcakes. I know because I've got two. They're behind me over there. So let's release it. Now, there hasn't been any quality control inspection of the molds and that sort of stuff. The people producing the kit in India clearly don't know the difference between an A variant and a GR1. So they're not going to pick up on the nose issue and everything else. They produced the kit. Okay, you could argue that Airfix haven't checked it.
Yeah.
Because it's a vintage classic, blah, 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 and it's been released and now there's a problem. The problem is a really easy fix. It's not insurmountable. And Airfix have had less than 24 hours to address this issue. So I would say, give them a fair chance to come up with a fix, but it's not a design and research issue.
Well, what I'm trying to get at,
unfortunately, people will take it as that, and they will bash Airfix's reputation more than perhaps is warranted.
What I was trying to get at is that the amount of bitching was that of the fact that, you know, well, I remember we had the debate on here, and to me it was two cuts: cut the top off, cut the bottom off, and then the missile would fit, or the rocket would fit to the, what they call it? It's not is it Castanian? Is it what they call it? The you know the launcher, you know the thing.
Hard point.
Yeah, that's what it was. And people were bitching they had to do that. And you're saying,
I don't think it was that though. I think it wasn't actually the technical thing of I've got to cut this piece and do it. I think most people are like, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah, that's what if you go back and watch at Airfix and Chill, most of the people were bitching at the fact they had to cut a piece out. That was the thing.
I mean, but again, it comes down to the good grace and the patience and the self-control of the individual modeler.
Yeah.
For me, the technical fix of that Vulcan is very, very simple, and it wasn't a problem. I was more concerned, and concern is a strong word because I really didn't give a shit, but I would be more concerned that it was a design and research error.
Yeah.
Because then that erodes the confidence in the brand, because when they release a new tool, you want to have some level of confidence in the manufacturer that the research and design has been done properly. When they make errors like they did on the Vulcan, it erodes that confidence, whereas this is something completely different.
Yeah. Well, as I said before to people, is it really such a bad thing? And because you are actually selling something that isn't inside the box. That's
absolutely.
You know, and they want to look at that side of it.
Yeah.
There was a piece of glass as well that goes under that nose.
No, there wasn't. That's not.
No, there isn't. It's a single piece.
It's a plastic part that incorporates the laser rangefinder. You're supposed to paint it silver.
Yeah.
Paint it silver, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's why it's molded onto the front of that piece. It's on the sprue. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I mean, the only way I would say Airfix get around this to stop these quality control issues coming out, and this would also stop design errors that, like for example, the Vulcan creeping in, is maybe they should broaden their base of who they give test shots to and maybe data, because it's great having the team look at it internally in the team, but they're all going to get a little bit blinded by the vision. Whereas if you give it to complete fresh set of eyes, and also subject experts, I think there is a Jaguar SIG, for example. You
Yeah.
just put the sheet across their door and go, look, NDA, please sign here. What do you think? Watch the Jaguar SIG go, that's the wrong fuselage.
Yeah.
Just straight away off a test shot. And then Airfix go, what do you mean? And straight away, we've not had any of this, and it's all dealt with in-house. But then it makes a nice little story when it releases. That's all.
I think Nigel could do that job, couldn't he, quite well?
Yeah, but again, that's what I presume. I presume Airfix still have a researcher.
But he used to put the engines into Jaguars, didn't he?
The only thing I will say is that these vintage classics are made at cost. There is a price to be paid, I think the most, Dale has said many times that the plastic in the decal sheet in the box costs more than the plastic on a lot of these.
I think that's a fair point. And I think if, as a consumer, you are buying a vintage classic kit, then there needs to be an element of acceptance. That what you are not buying is a brand new tool, 32nd scale Zukimura aircraft. And therefore, there needs to be an acceptance that things might not be perfect.
Yeah.
But when you're spending £16, this is very hard not to swear, but when you're spending £16, what do you expect?
There's an element of this that I would weigh in a little bit on. That at 16 quid, just like Mr. Rifle says here, there's an element of practice scratch building here. Why do you practice scratch building? Well, you do it so that you get better, because you have to be a fool before you can be a master. And the second thing is you practice to be good where it really doesn't count. Maybe where no one sees it.
Absolutely, and that's the point that I was trying to make earlier. I didn't finish it, but we hear all the time about 3D printed, and it's getting rid of the model making skills. It's getting rid of, in 20 years' time, you won't see any scratch builders because they'll just design something on CAD, print it, job done. Yeah. This is a classic example where, you've got to build a model now. And you've got to delve into the scratch building world, and you've got to, not to any massive extent, it's within the capability of everybody. But because it's Airfix, yet again, the people have come out of the woodwork and bashed the shit out of it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get that with other manufacturers. For example, thanks, Ben, I'm currently building the 72nd scale MiG-31 from Trumpeter for Ben's SIG. What an absolute nightmare if you want to put the canopy down and you want to do it wheels up. The kit isn't designed for that. The kit is designed to be built in one way and one way only, to have the canopy open and the wheels down. If you're trying to put wheels up and close the canopy, there's more filler on this nose around the canopy than there is plastic. Because it doesn't allow you. I mean, I've done it, but it doesn't. But no one's online saying the Trumpeter MiG-31's a dog shit kit. And blah, blah, blah.
We've had this argument over and over again on Airfix and Chill about that.
Plus, Moss, if you look at the timeline for that Jaguar kit, it was last tooled in 2004
as a GR3.
As a GR3 International, and it was not a Hornby Hobbies product.
No, but for example,
I don't think Hornby Hobbies know anything about what happened.
No, but this is the thing, though, why I looked at the tooling on the imagery, because I went and looked back at that GR3 release and went, look, just thinking, hang on, let's check the fuzzes to see if, for example, back in 2004 they made the same mistake and they didn't. So there is definitely, we know, another tooling of that fuzz.
Yeah, I think.
But the fact you've got, whereas the fact you've got that piece of the actual correct nose for the British version on that sprue, you can modify. It's not a big deal. Bit of putty. Thin bit of plastic stripe,
but
good to go.
That was always the way you built the GR3 in the Airfix kit.
Just quickly, world of plastic modelling, the 105mm Canon is alongside a lot of the 176 scale kits that they bought from a company that went kaput back in 1994, 1996. It's JB models, but they are really good tools. You know, they've got a lot of life in them. So yeah, do not fret about that. They are good. So the reason they're not a vintage classic is that they don't fit the criteria. You know, and like people are saying, well, why isn't the Saturn and the shuttle under the vintage classic? They're in as a gift set. Well, that's why they're a gift set. If they were to release them without it being in a gift set, they probably would end up in the vintage classic range. But because they're a gift set, that's why they're not a vintage classic. All right. So people are asking that question. But yeah, I totally get that. At the end of the day, we've had this conversation time after time after time after time. Yep. You know, we don't hear the bitching and the moaning about other manufacturers, but we are British, and the fact is that everything you got to treat Airfix like the England football team. We think they're absolutely wonderful. Oh, they got through to the semi-finals of the World Cup. Then we get to the finals. You know, we're the best team ever. Get to the finals and we get beaten. Oh, we've always been shit. We'll always ever be shit. That is exactly how people in the UK sum up Airfix. And then you talk to an Australian who gets a stiffy as soon as you mention that you've got a certain kit in the stash that Airfix. Oh, we never had that over here. We never had that over here, or it's not over here yet. No. And then you see that they're worshipped in these other countries. Like I said, a prophet is not welcome in his own lands, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And basically, that's like Airfix.
Welcome here. Oh,
that's exactly it. They do the NDAs. That's why you don't hear about people bragging about it. Yeah, you know, it's one of them.
I think when all's said and done,
I
think everyone that's whinging and moaning needs to give Airfix a fair crack of the whip, and just need to give them a bit of time to figure out a solution.
Yeah.
If they're not happy with that solution for whatever reason, then maybe they will have a case to argue. But until that time, let's give them a week or so and see. You know, I'm sure, I don't know anyone at Airfix. I don't speak to anyone at Airfix, but I'm fairly sure that office was quite busy today.
Yeah.
With people trying to figure out a solution to the problem. So let's give them some time to do that, and then maybe you've got a case to argue them.
I've always said this exactly. And when I did my Airfix video about the 3 big changes, I think one of the greatest changes the Airfix did was, just to be fucking honest, was the fact that they had, you know, within the space of 15 years, they had 99 new tools. Yeah. All right, 8 of them were Spitfires, but 99 new tools. And they decided, how are we going to market this tooling that was pre-Hornby, pre-CAD, remember, pre-scans and everything? How are we going to market them? And they said, let's re-release them as vintage classics. So you know that you'll get the age of the tooling and the year of the boxing on each box. So you were clear damned. So, and I think that was a great thing. But I still cannot believe that they, and I said this to Dale the other day, or was it today, or wherever it was, that, you were prepared to retool the bomb bug glass because it was missing. You were prepared to retool the glass for the Austin Atlantic plane.
Are you going to say the Belvedere?
And why didn't you then retool the glass for the Belvedere? That never fitted when it was made in 1959. We've all, we were buying back forms for that 5-10 years ago. So why didn't they do that?
Thank God they're not going to retool the HE111.
I know. Just quick, there's a comment there that was saying about in the Airfix promotional video, it was the correct model, and they're not wrong. Yeah. It is the correct model. So I think that's actually an issue, maybe with India picking up the wrong tooling for the fuzz.
They've mixed the tools up, haven't they?
Yeah, no, I think that's genuinely what's happened. I think the test shots have been sent to Airfix with the correct fuzz, and then when the Indians have gone to produce it, they've then picked up the French fuzz rather than because obviously I unless they're all on one single tooling, but I would think maybe they would be compartmentalized. So
in a way, if that's true, it would be
which
brilliant.
I think it's more obvious that they've bought an old tooling from eBay and said to somebody, "Can you build this for us, please, ready for the promotion?" Because the promotion is done way ahead of them getting that tooling was done, or they and I think that's what they've done. I think they've got an old tooling of it and they've built it up ready for the promotion, because it takes a long time for them to get the models done. That's what I think.
Well, I would have thought they would have got a test, one of the what they call it, test shots, sent to the UK and given that to the model build.
I don't know. I think that they, going by what I've conversations I've had in the past, I think that they've just bought one off eBay and said, "Build this for us, ready for promotion," and then away off they went. And that's the thing,
You see, I was trying to defend Airfix there. And
yeah. I don't think it's an Indian issue. I don't,
No, I don't. I think it's a misunderstanding. I think they've got the French sprue for the fuselage.
I just had a text. You are spot on. So we'll leave it at that, shall we? I'm spot on. So yeah. But yeah, it's. I think that
we'll get on the phone to the French and get the correct tooling back.
Get it to it. But it is interesting what you're saying, though. If you're seeing that tooling, that maybe there is another insert that they've used.
No, there's definitely two, because you look on the scale mates when they look at the sprues, you can see the GR3 release has the sectioned nose, and you see the Hella release, which has exactly the same sprues for the weapon systems.
Is this the 1995 release? Or
No. So this is the 2004 is the GR3 release.
Yeah.
So
and then you've got
that. I can go down to
the last release.
Yeah, so it's either that or it might be on another website. I'm trying to think.
You got the sprues here. Has anyone got a picture of the sprues? That's what we need, isn't it?
But even if you look at a built kit, it doesn't matter. You've still got the correct nose on there.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you look at the tail. It's still got the box tail.
You've got the RWRs on that.
Yeah, or sorry, the RWR even. Yeah.
That's it.
So that is the.
That's what you should have had in the Vintage Classic kit.
No. That's wrong. That's wrong. He says there, if you tidy up often, you'll be amazed at little treasures. Like I heard about. I bought this kit in the 1980s, and so that's not the one then. Hang on, let me go back. Let's try that one there, shall we?
Well, if not, I think Super Hobby have got the pictures as well, because they're always good for that. Here we go.
Doesn't say when he built the kit. That's the thing, though. When he bought the kit, it's just
that's a GR1.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'll show you this picture on my phone. I don't know how good it will be.
Okay. I just want to see where they got the sprues laid out. That's what we need to find.
Well, it might be on the instructions with scale mates.
Yeah. I mean that you can see the section nose. It's not pointy.
Hang on, wait till you put it up to screen. Hang on, let me put it up on the screen a minute.
Yep.
And what's that one? And sorry, that's on what website?
This is on Hobby something, the Polish site. Never a special Hobby.
Yeah, but is that what year was that released? That tooling?
2004.
And they show you the box art with that, do they as well?
They don't show the box art, but however, it has the additional. Hang on though. It has the additional rails. Those are the new parts on the left side.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Moss,
so
if you go into Scale Mates, open up the first release of the Jaguar A.
Yeah.
Then open up download instructions. It clearly tells you it's a different fuselage sprue, because the instructions is a different kit. If you go, that's the instructions for the kit, the Jaguar A. Can you see the nose is what you've got in the Vintage Classic kit?
Yeah.
ORWR boxes.
It's that bulge underneath, isn't it?
Yeah. That's a spiker.
Just out of asking, where you've got the exhaust there.
Yeah.
I'm just looking. Sorry, I'm just looking. No, not an exhaust, but that. See that? You see that part there? On the original, were they open? Were they open in the original? Or was that
That's
added?
That's an optional part. That's the part you can have closed or open on the original.
But was that on the original as well?
Yeah, that's the air brakes. You've got the air brakes directly in front of the Adore engines, and then at the back, you've got your strakes, same as the French one. But can you see those little frames that go on the tail fin? They're like little fin bars, aren't they? That's not on the original Airfix kit.
Well, let me just have a look at the Airfix instructions from 2004 then. Let me just have a look at the instructions for 2004. Download instructions.
And you'll see it'll have RWR boxes on the fins. There's none of those little fin bars. Can you see Can you see the original kit was cut down at the nose to put that part in place?
Yeah, I'm just squared off front nose there.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the tail on this one. I'm looking
the tail fin on the revamped Jaguar had the RWR boxes. They radar warp receivers, basically. That's what they are.
That's that plate that goes on top though.
That should be on the GR1.
So if you look at this one here, where's the other instructions? Let me just look at the other instructions a minute. Let me go back one. We're going down to this one here in a Jaguar A. Let's look at these instructions here. Right click, open link in new tab. Yeah, this tab. You see that the tail's different on this one. See the tail there?
Yeah, it's different. Yeah. I've got because you can see there the mouldings are different. So that all they've done is change the fuzz. That's it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the wings, for example, are any different, are they? If you look at the wing moulding.
No. Interesting. Yeah, and then you go down here, and if I share that tab instead, that's the difference. So
and then if you scroll down to the wing, there's no change to the wing, is there?
No, the wings are still.
Yeah, so it's literally purely the fuzz molds.
So do you reckon that there's inserts there for the tail and for the nose?
Yeah.
Well, no, because number 18, part 18 is that nose that's on that sprue that I asked you to look at.
That's part 18, yeah. Oh, actually, the blades are on the Airfix kit.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying. 15 and 16, so they have basically all the correct sprues apart from the fuzz. They've just got the fuzz wrong. That's it.
And you got part 86 instead, haven't you?
Yeah, which is the French pitot tube.
You got 80. No, I bet you don't have 86 in the kit, Moz. I bet you won't look. There isn't.
No, you won't have 86 in the kit.
You only have part 6 and whatever, whatever they call the fuzz number. Because you don't have the part to make the French fuzz. You don't have that pitot tube, I bet you.
Also, can you check, Moss, to see if the Airfix instructions have got separate Aiden cannon fairings?
Yeah,
they're part 33 and 34, are they? 32 and 33.
There you go.
Because they're molded in on the original, aren't they? Oh, no, they are. They are there.
So, there you go. Proper investigative journalism tonight, people.
Yep. By the way, that Airfix Jag is so much better than the Matchbox one.
Yeah.
The Matchbox one is just terrible.
Yeah.
Matchbox.
I need to go up in the loft to get mine out as well. Let's have a look here. So, how long before these incorrect kits become super expensive collectors' niche models to collect? I've got my 2 black bucks up in the loft selling it cellophane wrapper now. It's like, stay in there. Never even opened them. That's a good shout. Could be.
Didn't the Indian Air Force use a Jaguar A?
They did the A models, yeah.
Yeah, so you could build an Indian Air Force one out of that Vintage Classic.
Well, no, I don't think you can because you don't have the pitot tube, do you, to do the pointy part 86 or whatever for the fuzz?
Yeah, but that's just a piece of expanded sprue, isn't it?
Well, essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
That's an easy mod.
Well, there you go then. So we've done our bit for Airfix.
Yeah.
Check in the post, and if you can send us all.
Yeah.
We'll all take a kit. That'll be our consultancy fee.
Luke, we all want £100, all right, Luke?
Yeah. It is.
It's not Luke, it's Dale, isn't it?
Yeah, Luke's gone to Ravel.
Luke's gone to Ravel. He can give us £100 as well.
Yeah, that's it. So I said I think the front and could be something to do with the tooling. I think you could easily sort that out.
Yeah, it is. That's definitely the French.
It is. So what do we reckon the likelihood that Hella has the GR fuzz? Then?
Yeah, I think they have.
Do you reckon we do a 1 in 1 out exchange with the French, and we'll get the fuzz? So we'll give them the French fuzz.
It'd be interesting to buy the Hella Jaguar in 72nd if they release it.
I think
they can't. They can't release it.
No, because the tool's in India.
The tool's in India.
But they've got a fuselage.
I do wonder whether the inserts have gone missing. Because I think that's a lot of the problem is when they got them out of France back in 2006, they would have to, they lost a lot of the inserts, didn't they, on some of these toolings? So, but I think we saved the day. Well done. Normally we end up bitching about how good they are and how bad they are and all this, that, and the other. I'm not talking about us particularly. I'm just talking about on the forums. And that's always been the way, hasn't it? So.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of that. Why have I done this now? Oh, come on. I hate this new StreamYard. It's like so complicated to use. But yeah, we'll be interested. There'll be an announcement. Hang on. CCC, my Jag JR1 has the nose and the parts 1516 for the tail. It's made in the French version.
I think it's also in the British one. So looking at those
instructions, but that's what I was saying. Where you've got the nose, and then you have the bits that then go onto the tail, but you haven't got you've got the French fuzz. So you can make it apart from that, the radar, the riv, whatever it is on the tail.
Yeah, it's just a bit of plastic card, isn't it?
Yeah. Jim's got his popcorn.
Oh, hey! Hey, when you've got a decent model manufacturer out there, Jim, you can come and speak to us, all right? You know what I mean?
Oh, that's right.
You just stick to your round 2, boys. We'll be fine over here.
Is that sweet or savoury, Jim?
Either.
Is that?
It's called skinny pop. Us old fat guys have to eat this low calorie.
That's what I got.
I love you.
Totally tasteless, man. You're just putting stuff in your mouth.
Yeah. Have you seen Adam McDonald's comment? That made me chuckle. That did. And that took Airfix and Chill all but 30 minutes to research. Hornby's new research department has been found.
No, so now, Bear, hear me out. Hear me out. Earlier we were talking about how one NDA or MDA to the Jaguar SIG over there would solve a lot of problems. They've got 6 people. Now, granted, it's an older release and such, but with newer tools, I mean, and everybody's guilty of this, there's something wrong just about with everything out there. And it's just like, I mean, even Tamiya has done it, and it's just like, there's subject matter experts out there across the planet. They've offered their services. They've said, hey, run it by us. We know this thing inside and out.
Yeah.
Why don't companies take advantage of basically free labor?
Yeah. Well, like
especially with new tool stuff, not necessarily with older stuff like what we've been talking about.
I would say, it depends how secretive the company wants to be, I suppose.
Yeah.
But that's what I think Jim's saying with an NDA is for. An NDA, if you write it in the correct way, could take you to the cleaners.
But what could an NDA really bring to the table?
It's an
NDA is only as good as the value that they have lost. That's the problem.
Yeah.
They cannot. If you sign an NDA and then you say, "Oh, Airfix are releasing a brand new Hawker Siddeley Trident 1C. Okay.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. Now you've got me worried.
But you violated the agreement that you signed and could be legally liable.
There's nothing to sue. There's nothing for them to sue, so that would make the NDA null and void. The only thing that will happen is that they'll never speak to me again. That's the worry for me, if you know what I mean. So, but yeah,
if Ben's not here next week, it's because he's in court.
Yeah, he's in court. Yeah, you know, yeah. Because I said I think an NDA only works if you can sue somebody on the value that they've lost.
Yeah,
I mean, according to someone that I know very well, and he's very skilled in corporate law.
Is that your missus?
Yeah. So for those that don't know, she's a corporate law barrister, so she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Her opinion is that an NDA isn't worth the paper it's written on. And if your barrister is good enough,
they'll get you out of it.
It's going nowhere.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. It's like, the health authorities, or you had to sign NDA. A nurse had seen something, whistle blew, and she had to sign an NDA. When it goes to court and it realizes that this is the situation, the NDA is null and void because you're talking about life and death here, aren't you? That's the query of it. So, but I would do it just because I want to help Airfix, if you know what I mean. Or any company. So, well, thank you. So that's how I see it.
Just to comment on Stephen's comment there about wild boars being released on Dartmoor. Yeah, I would love a wild boar to attack me while I'm out walking my deck. The wild boar would not fare well. Let's put it that way.
And then we would eat the wild boar.
Yeah, absolutely. Like roadkill.
Barbecue that thing.
The Hornby Mafia are going to come for me. Oh dear. I'm going to get ganged up by several designers of Airfix who come storm my house. I'm concerned now.
Yes, they'll come and make fun of your decaling, won't they?
Yeah.
I can live with that.
That's fair enough.
Yes, me too.
As I said, NDAs mean nothing. But if you are worth your salt and you want to be part of something, you would keep it quiet anyway.
Yeah, because you'd want to have future information, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who doesn't love hot gossip?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know something you don't know. Frig off. You know what I mean? It's like that, isn't it? You can go around with a big smile on your face. But yeah,
it happened a few years ago. So when Games Workshop / Warhammer were releasing the 10th edition of Warhammer 40,000, what they've done is they've given certain sections of the rules to like play testers to see how the mechanics of the rule worked, etc., etc. Then they would get feedback. Well, a lot of these play testers, most of whom had YouTube channels, released details of the rule changes, etc. And Games Workshop, who are a massive multi-billion-dollar company, attempted to take these people to court for releasing this stuff, and it went nowhere. And these people weren't, they couldn't afford the best barristers and the best legal counsel and all that. They couldn't, in comparison to this multi-billion-dollar company. But it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, as I understand these things, this has a good deal to do with how much the company suing is actually going to lose or has lost, and how well they can demonstrate that they have made a loss as a result of something that you have done.
Yeah, someone's actions.
Yeah, if you can't show in court with some surety, the balance of proof is not as high as in a criminal case, but on the balance of probabilities, if you can't show that you've made a loss and quantify that loss, it's going nowhere, as you say.
Yeah, because there's not a lot you can sue for, is there? If there's no loss.
Yeah, it's the same with libel.
Yeah, indeed. So that's why, and it's to some extent, I gather that it's quite similar with these restrictive clauses in employment contracts. The company that you move from and then allegedly use their information. Well, there's nothing to say that information wasn't in the public domain somewhere. And okay, so show us what loss you suffered. You can't do that. Oh well, bye then. Cheerio.
Right. Yeah.
And I think a lot of that goes back to what we were discussing last week with why would Airfix go to Cartograph produce mass sets when Cartograph have never been, because that business relationship is absolutely established.
It is. It's strong as fuck, mate. It is, yeah.
So it would make sense that if Airfix want to keep something kind of, there you go, under wraps or doesn't yet hit the public domain, then it would make sense that they go to a company that they know there is a trust there.
Yeah.
From both sides. It makes perfect sense.
So
it does make perfect sense.
Riddle me this one.
Go on then, Jim.
Spin this. So we don't do NDAs or MDAs or whatever the heck it is, the non-disclosures. We go the opposite way. And if Airfix is listening, you release your tornado that you're going to do, right? But what you also do is you go out of your way and say, researched by Tornado SIG IPMS US, UK.
Yeah.
So now you're saying, hey, we're going to do this and go opposite of this whole big surprise announcement that they like to do sometimes at Telford, and be upfront with everybody. Don't ask us when it's going to come because you'll get it when you get it. But it's going to be well researched. It's going to be to hopefully cut back on any kind of mistakes. We've got subject matter experts doing it. Ari is receiving money from people that want to be part of something like this.
Surely you're not playing on people's emotions there, Jim, or to hand cash over for a subject that they like.
But other manufacturers are bringing in. People are paying for the privilege of being able to help a company put out the right thing.
Qatari.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Qatari. So Airfix could do the same thing, probably without having to pay anybody, just to be able to have, because that's your market. The British market's there. They're the one interested in a British subject. You go into your own backyard and get all your subject matter experts. Hey, let's get together. Let's do this. And
I tell you what, Airfix are racking up some consultancy fees after this live stream tonight. Jim's got Jim.
Who better to do research than the people that you're marketing your product for? They know this stuff.
I've always said this. Why do you think Airfix is predominantly going to model shows? Be honest.
To show what they're putting out, the product they're putting out for their buyers.
They hear what I think their biggest market research for what to do next is done by standing there talking to the masses. And that is why we have the Ferret Scout. And then that is now opened up, that's opened up a great, because like somebody said on Brit Modeler, if they've done the Ferret Scout and they've done the Stalwart,
the Salamander and everything next.
Well, basically you're doing, accurate armor because they're not around no more.
Yeah. But there again, to some extent, anyone could have told them do anything from Northern Ireland or the mid to late Cold War period now, and you're going to sell it hand over fist. Well, most people could have told them that.
I think because we had this debate before about all the Operation Herrick stuff. The reason it didn't sell well, it wasn't of its time. Most of those people that were in the Operation Herrick war, so to speak, weren't retired and doing scale modelling, because that's what normally happens, isn't it? They retire, then they become scale modellers, don't they, from the military sort of thing.
Basically,
wasn't of its time, but also you had all the the graphical discussion for should Airfix be releasing Modern Warfare?
The topic's too hot, as they call
too
it.
hot,
I think the biggest mistake Airfix made, I agree, they were slightly ahead of their time.
Yes.
With that range.
Yeah.
But when you call something archaic, you're tying that particular piece of hardware to a particular theatre of operation.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, all the hardware that was used in any conflict, including Iraq, Afghanistan, Northern Ireland, it's still military hardware.
Yeah.
It just happened to be deployed in those theatres of operation. So with a little bit of clever wording and a decent decor set in the box, you could build a Winnick Land Rover that never left the UK.
Yeah.
So it just happens to be that those vehicles were deployed on operations.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's loads of Abrams tanks M1s that were never deployed to the Gulf.
Exactly. And how many of them have we got in scale? Do you know what I mean? And we haven't got a decent fucking Challenger. You know what?
We have. Yeah, we have.
Well, you know what I mean. It's not Airfix have never done a Challenger tank.
No, Airfix haven't done it.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But then again, that's another debate for another Airfix and chill. Is it? I was reading a post the other day. So my morning routine is Brit Modeler, the Airfix website, just in case there's a deal on. Brit Modeler, my Scale Model Club Facebook group. I look through there normally to get rid of like a ton of spam, and then also just typing in and looking at different forums and whatnot. And somebody said that he believes that the downfall of model shops is not because of the model shop not providing models per se. It's model shops not knowing what models to actually have on the shelf because everything's been done to death. If I went into a model shop and I wanted to build,
I can give you some insight on that.
I mean, say a Jag Panther, and they had the Tamiya one, but we all know it's very basic. But I wanted a Meng one or a Takum version. You would leave that shop empty-handed and then buy it online, where you can buy. It's all about, it's a really interesting debate. He had a real insight into this.
Now that I could give you hours on that, on stocking and what to stock and how it works. But that you're right. That's a whole evening's worth of conversation.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We're going to go into that sometime because it's not necessarily when you go into a model shop. It's like, why is it when I go into a model shop, I'll come out with one model and umpteen paints, but when I go to a model show, I end up buying 8 or 9 model kits and coming back with no paint. And it's because there's so much going on in that model show. There's so many different vendors. They end up having the kit that you want. Do you see what I mean?
It gives it to temptation.
Shop, so that's it. Yeah, it's.
I think another topic that was quite good, and you sort of highlighted it a bit there, is if it was going to be round Airfix and stuff, sort of how British should Airfix focus? Should they go back to doing more British subjects, or should they keep on their international, such as what they're doing at the minute? Whereas you've got Aussie, a bit of Aussie, a bit of American, this, or should they go back to basics British? I think a Challenger. Should they be doing a Challenger?
I think Airfix is more Commonwealth than just UK. Do you know what I mean? I think it's more.
But that's what I'm saying. What should their market be? And that could be another discussion.
Yeah, another debate, another time. But we'll have that. We can't be next week. So I'm hoping to get Dave on from 3D Gizmo. I don't know whether you know on the I was going to mention about model shows as well. Bollocks. He's now. Whose phone's that?
It's mine. Hang on.
Is that mine?
Oh, thanks, John. He's got a subscription service starting for 1/16 scale figures, I think it is. I'm going to get him on next week, hopefully, talk about 3D printing. So, which will be good. Somebody said about model shows. I mentioned some last week. I must do this properly, actually. But somebody asked me to mention their model show. Which one was it? Let me just check my phone very, very quickly, because I know that there's a model show this weekend or something. And I promised that I would mention it. I think it's St. Ives, I think it is. Where's the calendar? There's my calendar.
That's
Right.
St. Ives, Cambridge, isn't it?
Right. So, what date are we on now? So there's not one this week. Yes, there is. You've got Abingdon IPMS have a model show at Abingdon. OX141RF. That's Saturdays. Sunday, IPMS Brampton St. Ives Model Show 2025. Postcode for that is PE276WU. So WU. So if you want to,
I may be going to that one. Maybe.
Mightn't you? It's a bit far for me, that one.
Yeah.
And then October the 11th, you've got Remy's Museum Model Show. That's in Scotland, IV36 3YA. And you've also got Thatcham Model Show. That's RG West Reading, isn't it? RG18.
Yeah.
No, I think Remy Museum's
No,
in Wiltshire.
Remy's in Scotland.
No, I said Thatcham Model Show.
Oh,
Done
Thatcham.
Remy's Model Show's done. Thatcham Model Show at the Thatcham.
It's like Newbury, Reading Way.
Yeah.
That area. Yeah.
RG18 3AG. That's next weekend. And then on the 18th of October, you've got the... Oh, no, that's wrong. Sunday, sorry. You've got Malvern Hills Modelling Exhibition at the MSJ Sports and Fitness Centre. WR143LH is the postcode for that one. And
I'm definitely going to that one.
Are you? And then the Coventry Air Enthusiast Fair at Coventry Air Museum, CV4FR. That's in October as well. And the other one I want to mention is on the 26th of October. It's the second of the year's Yeovil Model Show. You've been to that one, haven't you, Luke? Did you come
Which
down
one's
to
that,
that?
mate? Sorry.
Yeovil's Model Show. Did you go to that one or not?
Yeah, I've been to that one before,
Yeah. That's Sunday, the 26th of October. I'll be there. BA21 3EP. So if you want to go to that, absolutely fine. So there you go. Brilliant.
Maz, can I shamelessly plug something while we're doing model
moving on
shows?
now. Catch you later. Have a good night. Thank you.
So this Friday, which is the 3rd, on my channel stroke the club's channel, we're bringing back the monthly live stream. We haven't done it for such a long time with real life shifts, etc., but that's changed. So it'll be the first Friday of every single month. There'll be guests, there'll be all sorts of stuff going on. So I've popped a link in the chat. If you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, then you'll know when it goes live, basically. And there'll be giveaways and all sorts going on. So
that was when I first really met you, Luke, wasn't it?
Second, mate.
That was after I met you at the police model show.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of months after that, you got me on that show, didn't we? We had a good old chat with me.
That was what we used to do. Excuse me. We used to do a thing called Scale Model Studio, which was once a month, but kind of in between the club live streams, if you like. And we used to interview sort of prominent people within the hobby, of which you were one, Mark.
Yes.
So we got you on that. We may bring that back at some point or something very similar. But obviously we all work, we've all got families and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
so it's difficult. But the first Friday of every month will be a live stream with free stuff, basically. So it's worth watching. You have the chance to get free stuff.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. We're looking forward to that. It's good to have you back, mate. Line again, Luke. It's good to have you back. Yeah.
You forgot one, Maz. We're having our show on November 1st if anybody wants to fly all the way out here for it.
Yeah. That'd be good.
It's even a long haul for John.
I shall get on my bicycle straight away.
Yeah.
I mean, it would take me 13 hours to drive out to Jim.
See, now that's a proper old school gentleman statement right there. I'm going to get on my bicycle.
Yeah.
That's a proper old school thing. Most idiots now, including me, will go, I'll get my bike out. No.
I'm going to get my e-scooter. I'm going to get my e-scooter out.
That's proper old school.
If I'd have been a proper old school gentleman, I'd have said, I will get upon my velocipede at once.
What? Not a penny farthing? Not that one?
No, a velocipede, you Philistine.
Yeah.
Velocipede.
Is
that a large insect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
092. I'm exactly the same, mate. Yeah, I'm exactly the same, mate. If I go and see a second-hand kit cheap, I'll be absolutely on it like a carb on it, mate.
The last model show I was at, although it was cheap, I managed to get still sealed in the box a 48 scale Bandai armor kit.
Yeah, you did with swastikas and all, wasn't it, mate?
Yeah, it's got it all. Yeah, on the box, they're printed on the box. That's how old it is.
That's right. That's mine's the same. I've had to, mine's up there now. But mine had all the bump in it because it was German and nobody's. And that's what I don't understand. It's like you watch the man in High Castle, and you got like all the symbolism. It's all over the posters, everything, and then you can't sell Escape from Codits on eBay because it's got the symbol. You can't have it both ways, ladies and gentlemen. You don't hide frame history. You move on. And also,
it will always be a area of debate because the world has changed so much.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, places like YouTube, Facebook, these big meta platforms.
Yeah,
they by their good grace allow us to play with their train set. That's essentially it, and they make the rules, don't they?
I was just going to say if you notice how society changes, also, it's like years ago you would never hear swearing on the television. Now you hear swearing all the time on television. And I think at the moment we're always worried about who we're going to offend. There'll come a point when we're like, no, we've had enough of this. We had enough of this offending. Let's just get back to good old school. Let's just get offended. I think
it's already happening. It's already happening.
Yeah.
And if you look, certainly in the UK, if you look at sort of alternative comedy, people like Frankie Allen, there's a classic example.
Yeah.
For over 2 decades, he couldn't play at a venue as such because he was banned. Yeah. Now he sells out theatre tours because there's such a market to go back to that sort of common sense approach to things.
Well, it's like you're saying, that box art, if you look back, they would have sanitized all this out. All this here would have been gone. They would have just airbrushed it out. And now they're having it back again. It's like we're going back. This is what it looked like in the original. It's not sanitized anymore. No. And I think that's what will happen at the end. I think that we're going through this stage. Everybody's scared. I think we're going through it at the moment, and then in a minute, it will be like. I'll tell you what will happen. There'll be. I won't say it online, but you know what I mean.
We won't get political, but I will echo Zinzan's advice.
Yeah,
I couldn't recommend everyone join the Free Speech Union. Join that, and if you end up offending somebody, they will help you out.
Stephen Sheets, that shit's absolutely brilliant. I love it. What a comment to finish off on. There's no more page 3 girls. The world has gone soft. There you go. That's so good. I think that is absolutely brilliant. You know, if you want to take away the livelihood of many females because of that, then you totally get it. Right, under that bombshell, thank you so much. Have a really, really good rest of your week, and thank you for joining us on Airfix and Chill. And we'll see you
guys
again next Monday. Take care, all. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.